Hi guys, Spiritual Butterfly here, bringing you another update. Hope you're all well during this time of craziness with the coronavirus situation. There's a lot of uncertainty and it's kind of uncharted territory for us all. We've never been in such a situation as a collective, or it's just a crazy situation to find ourselves in, and so I hope that everybody's coping and everybody's got enough supplies and everybody's just keeping a good check on each other and keeping positive and strong. We will all be fine, but we just need to keep positive and keep faith that this is happening for a reason, and there will be a lot of knowings and different things, some positive and other things that we'll learn from through this time. So today I wanted to talk about the Archons and the Archonic structure that we often don't realise is going on around us, and a lot of the behaviours that we have are programs that we've been handed down through generations. So let's start with the fact that the Archons are actually what stands between us and our divinity. The structures that they have set in place, without reaching a certain level of knowledge or gnosis, it's very hard to navigate ourselves through these illusions that the Archons have actually set up for us to live with and in. So basically they are often described as aliens or alien looking beings, which I do believe there are aliens, other life forms on the planet, and for sure we would be crazy to think that we were the only life form to exist. It's just not possible that that could be. Also, for sure, we are not at the top of the scale of consciousness or beings. There are beings all around us that we can't see, good and bad. There are beings that are guiding us and helping us and nudging us through our intuition and knowings. And there are also beings that do not want us to use our intuition or ever realize that we have a connection to the Creator, or that we would ever be worth anything more than just to be here to worship or suffer and live with the sins of Adam and Eve. And so we're always stuck with this original sin that we can never really hope to overcome. I mean, I know that there are a lot of teachings that will state that we will achieve heaven and other things regarding how to correct the original sin and things like that. But what I mean to say is that we don't have to feel worthless, or we don't have to feel that we're living. We don't have to feel controlled. We don't have to feel that our every move is a sin, or our every thought is sinful and things. Sometimes there are certain life situations that have to play out, and oftentimes we need to explore who we are, and be that with finding true love through having numerous relationships. Now, I'm not saying it's a good idea to go sleeping around and things like that, but what I am saying is, how would you ever know what true love felt like if you had not felt other feelings surrounding love. And so there's so many different societal structures that prevent us from ever feeling free or free to explore who we are, or dare for 1 second to think that we might be important. Now, there are anti-awakening forces, just as there are forces that want us to wake up. There are also forces that will do everything in their power to stop us from knowing that we are one, and stop us from knowing who and what we are, and that we have great purpose on the earth. Now, there are many people that have tried to bring great teachings of light to the earth, and there are many over the years that have been silenced and sabotaged and rejected. Their messages of truth have been rejected by the dark ones, and they've been met with fear from even the people that were likely to awaken. Now, it's like every time we begin to see a spark of truth, or we dare to open our eyes even just a little bit, and we see a little bit of truth, it's almost like we quickly close our eyes tightly shut and run back to the safety of ignorance. It's almost like we will hold on to anything just to not realize the truth of who and what we are and what we're doing here on this planet. Be it family, work, debt, traffic jams, telephone queues, Facebook, Netflix, eBay, all these things that just keep us constantly entertained and ignorant, because I believe that the Archons, although they do have a reputation for feeding off fear and violence and sexual depravity and sacrifice and all these types of things, their main weapon against us is actually our ignorance. Our ignorance to who we are, and ignorance to forgiveness and love and sharing and greed and cruelty to the animals. I mean, we've gone so far off the track of how we should be as divine beings of light. There's so much surrounding the self, my needs, my wants, my goals, everything to distract you from ever knowing or ever thinking about waking up. I mean, with everything that we have to do, with the constant demand for more money, a better car, a better house, better surroundings, going for days out, all these things that we're striving for. And to top that off with all the other distractions that are going on around us, the wars, different religious groups actually hating one another in the name of the Creator. Now, obviously, the Creator created us all, and we are one collective, and we came here to experience things as a collective, and we chose certain paths to go down. And basically what's happening is we're getting so sidetracked with all these distractions that have been put here by the people and beings that don't want us to awaken. So the only way of conquering the anti-awakening beings is by knowledge or gnosis of the divine things. So looking within and truly understanding what love is, and sharing and truly forgiving, not just for others but for self. The concept of forgiveness is so important, because without it you hold on to so much negativity within your chakras and within your system, and that negative energy will weigh you down, and it will slow your ascension down. So the best thing to do is to let go of everything and to become lighter and lighter, and the only way to do that is to withdraw from the world around you. The image of the Archons is that they're almost like the jailers, and they're jealous and imprisoning the spark of divinity within the human soul. The purpose of the gnosis sent from the divine realms was to set us free through Christ, so that we could then become pure and light and return to the higher realms, which is where we are now shifting to. But we're sort of doing things in reverse. We fell from the higher realms to come down into the lower frequency and dimensions, and we somehow have become trapped down here. And obviously this was all in the Creator's plan, because this wouldn't actually be happening if it wasn't meant to be happening. But we now have to figure out how to make it through the matrix, and that's what's happening now. And so we now have to do things in reverse. So we now have to set our standards so much higher and be so much more loving and forgiving. And if we search through the darkness and we really go and look within, and we really work through our own darkness, because have you ever came into contact with a really confident and whole person, and maybe when you weren't so awakened, or if you aren't, and then people can make you feel, you know, you can almost want to make those people feel bad, because you look at them and you just think they're so perfect. Why, how can they be so perfect? And it's almost like we need to look at our own insecurities fully, and without looking through rose-tinted glasses, we need to look at ourselves truthfully and spot where our faults are in truth, and work on ourselves and eradicate that darkness from ourselves, because the Archons work through mind control a lot of the time. So it can present itself through people coming into contact with you, and they could really belittle you or just dismiss your truth or what you're bringing to the table, and try to like gaslight you almost. They can tempt you to do wrong. Now, when you come to a certain level of consciousness, I don't believe there's anything that can really tempt you to want to do wrong. It's sort of like when you reach a certain level of consciousness, those things just don't resonate with you anymore, and you will automatically move away from the negative things. And you will have no desire to go back to those things. So everything is how it's meant to be, but it's always good to open your eyes to everything that's going on around you and really learn everything about the world. And your consciousness can continue to grow and expand with the more you stop buying into the ways of the world and really start to learn about what we are and the ways of the universe, the universal laws, and the truth of we are what we eat, and addictions, and just anything that negative behaviours, anything that's holding us down, even negative thoughts or the way we think about others, or if we're easily entrapped into arguments by being triggered. I mean, I do believe that when we're being triggered, it's for a reason. The people that are triggering us are sent to trigger us so that we can release and address that part of ourselves that's still got negativity and darkness there. And so I truly do believe that every single thing that we're going through is totally as it should be, as a part of the plan, from total ignorance and almost selfishness and self-indulgence and pleasure and seeking every thing that fulfilled us, to almost going back to basics of fasting and withholding things that you desire, and knowing that, yeah, I might have a great time, or I might perceive that I'm having a great time if I go and get absolutely wrecked on a night out and do this, that and the third, but actually, is that going to be good for me? Do I really need that in my life, or do I need to switch on, wake up and get to work and actually be a human being that is actually contributing something? And I mean, I know we all contribute in a lot of ways, but what I mean by that is that really consciously working and putting that work in towards your awakening can only be a benefit. And there was a time to play, but I really do believe that now is the time to really get to work and get into our soul purpose and discover what our soul mission is. Now, before this, I never realised that I had any artistic tendencies whatsoever. I used to think, when I used to hear it on other talks and stuff about how creative we are, and I used to think, well, I'm not creative, I'm not good at art, I'm not good at poetry and things like that. And I've totally discovered that I am so good at art and so good at poetry, but that sort of came to me as I've accepted that I don't have to have art that looks like other people's art. I can have my own expression of art, and I can do my own poems from my expression of truth. And so now I just feel proud of those little things, and they're the things that keep me busy now, along with my children and seeking truth and just trying to live a generally peaceful existence. Obviously I still have my days where I question everything, and I generally question, am I imagining all these things that are now coming to light in my eyes? But I generally do know that this is my purpose, and just to bring light to the fact that we are controlled a lot, and you only have to open your eyes and look around to see that, and to see that most of the people in the past have been persecuted for bringing light to the earth and for bringing truth and for bringing expressions of love, and trying to open other people's eyes to the fact that we're not here to be treated, it's hard to find the words, we're not here to treat one another as if we're separate. We really are all one, and we should treat one another with love and respect and guidance, and try to understand one another as best as we can, and that's not always easy, especially in relationships and family situations. And there's any situation where there's a lot of emotion between two people. So it's always good to take a breath and think about the things that you're going to say to somebody. And we're not perfect, we will still be triggered, and we've still got a way to go, but just recognising the structures and the fact that there are things around us that we just can't see is a really good way to be present and mindful and aware of your actions, thoughts, and the words that you speak, because they're so powerful. And it's always good to put a good spin on things and to come from a place of love. And I don't think there's anything else that I'm missing. So yeah, I think that's about it, but I just wanted to maybe trigger something within you that you could maybe think. And also that if you know, there are ways that you can like deal with some of this control situation that we're living in. So you can stop distracting yourself and actually sit and address your inner pain. Try not to avoid it, and instead sit down with yourself and really feel everything and really question things. You could meet your emotional pain and unhappiness with an open heart and really allow yourself to feel that pain, because that's another thing. We hide from our pain and we ignore it, and we ignore our shame and embarrassment because we feel like if we don't acknowledge it, that it's not real, but it's actually there and it's trapped within. And you can be responsible for your own life. Truly in every moment, just by being just fully present and aware of your surroundings and how you feel about your surroundings and how you feel about others, and always go with your intuition and the vibes that you're getting up in them places, because it's always right, it's always completely spot on. Well, that's it for today. Thank you very much. Bye bye.